Good evening and welcome once again to Irish Television Chicago. We got a great show for you tonight, and as usual this show is brought to you in part by the Irish American Heritage Center. My name is Tom Looney and my co-host Siobahn of Bhuachalla. This evening we have some very interesting groups for you that I know you'll enjoy. We got Pat Daly and the Ramblers. We got also Mike O'Connell and the Shannon Airs, and some more songs from Pat Woods. So now, Siobahn, we got some groups that we're going to start off with tonight.
Yeah, we're starting off tonight with the Lookalikes, more or less the proverbial rock fly and the traditional ointment here. But the song they're doing for us tonight is called Shout, and it's got pretty much a traditional music vein played in a rock music way for us, so here they are.
Something that I want to say. Hear me out before you turn away. Do what I tell you, it'll be okay. Listen to you. You think that there is nothing we can do. You got feelings, you should see them through. I think you know what I'm getting to. You gotta shout. We've all got something we could shout about. Don't try to keep it in, just let it out. You shouldn't be afraid to shout it out. Take what you can. It might be something that you never had. It might not be the way you had it planned, but when you get it, you won't feel so bad. You gotta shout. We've all got something we could shout about. Don't try to keep it in, just let it out. You shouldn't be afraid to shout. You shouldn't be afraid to shout it out. shout. You gotta shout. Leave out something wicked, shout it out. Don't try to keep it in, just let it out. You shouldn't be afraid to shout. You shouldn't be afraid to shout. You shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid to shout.
Nothing like a lively start to a show. It's sort of like having a big workout in the morning before you head off for the day. So, there were the Lookalikes. We filmed them while they visited Chicago recently, and hopefully they'll be back here visiting us again in September. Tom?
Yeah, well, Siobahn, now we'll slow down the tempo a little bit, and we're going to have Pat Daly and the Ramblers for the next number.
This time we're going to continue with Jerry Ahi on vocals with the little girl from Omaha.
True as the moon and the stars above, I've fallen head over heels in love with my pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. A sweet little girl's an ocean bound there, just as pretty in morning, and just to every roving I have known. But I guess that I'll be out of bounds, go there between those northern towns, my little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. She wears my ring, she tells her friends she's gonna marry me, and best of all, she tells them all, happy as can be. Oh, lucky me. I don't know what she's done to me, but there's nothing else my eyes can see but a pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. Was down in the south in Oceanmore, I call it get old dress she wore. She stole on show there all alone. I guess it was my lucky day when she came there on holiday, my pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. A sweet little girl, so no she bound there, just as pretty in morning and just to every road that I have known. But I guess that I'll be out of bounds, go there between those northern towns, my pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. She wears my ring, she tells her friends she's gonna marry me, and best of all, she tells them all, happy as can be. Oh, lucky me. I don't know what she's done to me, but there's nothing else my eyes can see but a pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone. My pretty little girl from Omaha in the county of Tyrone.
For the best in traditional Irish entertainment, join your friends at the Abbey Pub, the home of Irish television in Chicago, located at 3420 West Grace. The Abbey offers a wide variety of activities, including the best of Irish musicians from around the world. So whether you're in the mood for great live entertainment or just a friendly game of darts, you can find it and more at the Abbey Pub on the corner of Grace and Elston. Open weekdays from noon till 2 a.m., Saturdays till 3 a.m.
This is a song about one of the great sporting events in Ireland, and it's the Galway races. I don't know whether you've been there or not, or whether you're going this year or not. Now, if you're back in Ireland this year and you happen to go, as well as getting a good race meeting, you'll get things like, you get lemonade, you get raisins, you get large bottles, and you get crew beans. And if you've never been to Ireland, you're wondering what a crew bean is. It's a delicacy.
It is.
I don't know whether you eat them over here or not. Pig's feet.
There are 8 of them on stage.
Crew beans, an absolute delicacy. You pay about $100 for a plate of crew beans. You know. Anyway, here's the story of the Galway races. With me whack for the dough, for the diddery idle day. There's a road down to Galway town to see for recreation. On the 17th of August, me Michael elevated multitudes assembled with their tickets at the station. Me mind began to dazzle and I go to see the races. With me whack for the dough, for the diddery idle day. Passengers from Limerick, more from Tipperary, the boys from Connemara and the Clare unmarried maidens, people from Cork City who were dying to and brave, and brought home the Fenian prisoners from dying in foreign nations. Would say whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. It's there you see the confectioners of their sugar sticks and dainties, the lozenges, the oranges, the lemonade and raisins, gingerbread and spices to accommodate the ladies, and a big crew bean for threepence to be sucking while you're able. With me whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. Up! Ah, here's the mandolin.
2-1, bar one.
It's there you'll see the fiddlers and the pipers competing, the nimble for the dancers and the tripping on the daisies. There was others crying cigars and lights and bills for all the races, the colours of the jockeys and the price and horses' ages. When she whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. It's there you'll see the jockeys and they mounted on so stately, the pink and blue, the orange and green, the emblem of our nation. But the bell was rung for starting, all the horses seemed impatient. You'd think they never stood on ground, their speed was so amazing. But she whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. There was 500,000 people there of all denominations, the Catholic, the Protestant, the Jew and Presbyterians. There was yet no animosity, no matter what persuasion, but cordial hospitality, juice and fresh acquaintance. But say whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. With me whack, fall the dough, fall the diddery idle day. Now have a listen to this. Have a close listen to this. What do you think?
Don't.
This, friends, is the latest musical instrument in the whole world. In the whole world. It didn't come from the United States, Hong Kong, Korea or Japan. The latest development in Irish technology, and it's in its infancy at the moment. Don't worry about it. Have a listen. Now this machine was devised and developed in an old hay barn belonging to Tipperary. All he had was one screwdriver starting off, and a bit of an old battery wireless, and suddenly the sound jumped out. Now I would remind you, it's not finished yet, as you will gather, but it's on his way. This could be the biggest thing in the world before long. And here's the man that devised it. Look, he has to sit with his back to you tonight because he has no room. He's the scientist in the group. He comes from Tipperary. Will you give him a hand? Tipperary Tim.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, boy.
The Irish American Heritage Center, located at 4626 North Knox Avenue in Chicago. Renew your link with your family's heritage. Join the Irish American Heritage Center. For more information, call 282-7035. That's 282-7035.
Well, we're in the midst of July and we're also in the midst of Olympic fever. Some fairly hopeful, optimistic signs for the Irish team this year. Oh,
I hope so, Siobahn. We've had some great performances, I guess, in the last year or so from Marcus O'Sullivan. And Eamon Coughlin is always out there likely to give us a surprise, hopefully a positive one this year. He's tried so hard for so long.
I know, he's been defeated so many times. I can remember when he won the Golden Mile and then, of course, got an injury just before the Olympics came up in '84. Hopefully this year will be his year and we'll be surprised, just like we were with John Tracy in '84 at the marathon. You were there for that, weren't you?
That's right, and it was a great thrill at LA to see John Tracy coming in and getting the silver medal. Especially when he wasn't expected to really show in that race.
It's absolutely a credit to the stamina of the Irish that someone who wasn't even training or planning to run the marathon but decided the week beforehand that he would come in with the silver medal. It's absolutely incredible. But of course there's more news happening other than Olympic sports. There's still the Gaelic sports news and the news desk from Mike Shevlin, and that's going on now.
Good evening. The Irish Consulate in Chicago may have to close because of new budget proposals in Ireland. Officials at the Department of Finance are pressing for severe cuts in the area of diplomatic spending. Kenya and Iran have already lost Irish ambassadors because of cost-cutting pressures from the Finance Department. However, members of the Department of Foreign Affairs have said they feel that ambassadorial closures could be avoided by implementing cuts in other areas of foreign spending. One suggestion is that overseas development aid could be reduced. The ODA program is Ireland's official state contribution to third world development. Dr. Eamon Casey, Bishop of Galway and Chairman of Trócaire, has sent an urgent letter to the Taoiseach asking him to maintain ODA spending at its present level. There has already been a $15 million reduction this year. Opponents of the finance proposal say that any further decrease in the Republic's diplomatic representation would severely damage our standing at the United Nations and reduce our information gathering capacity overseas. The proposed hit list includes embassies in Belgium, Argentina, India, and the Vatican, and several consular offices. The consulate here in Chicago is located in the Wrigley Building on Michigan Avenue. If the planned closure goes ahead, the closest consular office will then be in Boston. There has been a 10% drop in the number of U.S. tourists visiting Ireland this year. However, industry sources say the drop does not reflect a loss of interest in Ireland as a vacation spot, nor does it relate to the political turmoil in the north of Ireland. Early studies suggest that American tourism figures are low all over Europe this summer, with decreases of 30 to 40% registered in Spain and Portugal. Low dollar values and the stock market upset are being blamed for the slump. Chief Executive of Air Rianta, Mr. Derek Keogh, said a European vacation would be considerably more expensive for Americans this year because of the dollar value. He said traditionally fewer Americans travel outside of the States in presidential election years. The Irish tourist industry is not suffering as much as would be expected from this decline, as visitors from mainland Europe and Britain are on a steady increase. However, duty-free sales, particularly at Shannon Airport, are dramatically down, and most mail-order houses are experiencing a slump in what is normally their busiest season. The Irish government recently announced a plan to subsidize car hire this fall for U.S. visitors. It is hoped that the subsidy will encourage more people to take autumn vacations and extend the tourist season beyond the traditional August deadline. The High Commission of the European Community has issued another warning to Ireland for failure to comply with community guidelines. The issue this time is nature conservation. Dr. John Temple Lang of the EHC Legal Department has attacked Ireland's conservation policies, which, he says, violate all of the country's international obligations and are threatening to eradicate many significant wildlife habitats. Dr. Lang said that Ireland is of particularly importance internationally because of its wintering waterfowl. The country has some spectacular seabird colonies and also has the few remaining unspoiled bogs in Europe. Dr. Lang described the Burren area of Clare as a botanically remarkable region, but he said persistent tree felling, drainage, and turf development, mostly by government agencies, were wiping out the country's natural treasures. The Lang article suggests that one of the reasons for this is that there was no national policy in operation when the European Wildlife Act came into effect. He said Ireland receives over $1 billion in European aid each year, and many grants for conservation schemes have not been used. If Ireland does not take immediate action, the Commission will have to take legal action to force the Republic to comply with the governing legislation. The controversial Fianna Fáil Committee Against Extradition held its first meeting in Dublin's Buswell Hotel last Sunday. The meeting was unique because the Fianna Fáil leadership, which is in power at the moment, voted the present Extradition Act into law. The meeting was held by a group who openly disagree with their own party's policy. Many leading Irish lawyers, including Mr. Sean Sorahan, senior counsel, and Seamus O'Toole, barrister at law, attended the meeting, which was chaired by Captain James Kelly, a member of the party's national executive. Speakers accused the Taoiseach of doing a U-turn on the issue of extradition. "We can take U-turns on the economy, but not on the national issues," said Fianna Fáil Director of Elections for Monaghan, McCartan McCormick. Seamus O'Toole said extradition in the present atmosphere was tantamount to a guilty verdict in advance and therefore was an injustice to every individual involved. The group has said that they will continue to campaign and canvass support for a repeal of the present Extradition Act. A very special concert was held in Dublin last weekend. The Olympia Theatre was sold out on Sunday evening for a solidarity concert for the jailed South African civil rights activist Nelson Mandela. The show was organized by Irish folk singer Christy Moore to mark Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday and the ongoing struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Rory Gallagher, Sinead O'Connor, and the Pogues were some of the all-star lineup for the 4-hour gig, at which messages of solidarity from U2 and the Taoiseach were read. Conor Osmond, president of the Irish anti-apartheid movement, addressed the capacity crowd and reminded them that Mr. Mandela has now spent over 25 years in jail because of his commitment to civil and human rights. Dublin City has announced that it will make Nelson Mandela a free man of the city to honor his birthday and to support his struggle for justice in South Africa. Freedom of the City of Dublin is the highest honor the city can award the highest award the city can award an individual. Other holders of the city key includes Eamon Coughlin for outstanding contribution to Irish sports and the late President John F. Kennedy. That's the news for tonight. I'm Mike Shevlin.
Good evening. I'm Pat Looney with Irish Television Sports, which is sponsored this week by Craig and Federal. The big championship game in Ireland this Sunday was of course the iconic football final. We'll have a special review on that game later on this report. While most eyes were focused on the Cork-Tipperary clash in Munster last Sunday, Tyrone and Monaghan were battling for the Ulster football crown in Clones. It was a closely fought game, but the points total itself, coupled with the fact that the only goal of the game was a result of goalie's error rather than a skillful play, is testimony to the fact that this was a game lacking excitement. Monaghan players Kyran Murray and Declan Lockman were crucial inclusions in their team's lineup, while Stephen Conway, who scored a total of 5 points for Tyrone, kept his county's championship chances alive until the final whistle. The only goal of the match was scored by Eugene Hughes just 7 minutes before the end of the first half. Midfielder Eamon McEnany gained possession and aimed rather ambitiously at the Tyrone goal. Goalkeeper Aidan Skelton had the ball covered but appeared to lose concentration at the most crucial moment and allowed the ball to bounce off his chest and into the path of a surprised Hughes, who remained calm enough to direct the ball into the wide open net. Later in the second half, Skelton made a spectacular dive to save what seemed like a sure goal from Ray McCarron. But this was no consolation for the Tyrone goalkeeper, as the final score of Monaghan 1 goal 10 points, Tyrone 11 points, showed that one careless moment robbed them of the Ulster title. One very interested spectator at the game was Cork manager Billy Morgan. Munster champs Cork will meet Monaghan on August 14th in the All-Ireland semi-finals, and Morgan will surely be advising his side to take full advantage of the weak Monaghan defense, who made many mistakes last Sunday. Irish racing was thrown into controversy this week by a surprise decision in favor of jockey J.O. Kinane, who successfully sued Killarney Racecourse. Kinane suffered painful leg injuries when riding in the Rank Cup chase in 1985. His mount, Star of Cool, ran through the wing of a fence, throwing him onto the turf. Because of the dangerous nature of the sport and the inherent risks involved, national hunt jockeys rarely seek damages unless there are extenuating circumstances. However, Kinane is said to be awarded $23,000 plus $6,000 costs in an uncontested suit. It is understood that the racecourse did not contest the action on the advice of their insurance company. Racecourse owners throughout Ireland are incensed by the decision. The AIR has said that the punter will consume the ultimate cost if actions of this sort are encouraged. And another racing battle took place last Monday and Tuesday at the Keeneland Select Sales, as the last yearlings to be sired by the celebrated Northern Dancer were auctioned for very competitive prices. Northern Dancer, who was described as an outstanding sire, retired from duty at his Kildare stud this April. The two major bidders at the sales were the famous O'Brien Sangster Syndicate and the Sheikh Mohammed of the Kildangan stud. Irish athlete Frank O'Meara raised Irish Olympic hopes this week with a breathtaking win over world record holder Steve Cram in the 2-mile classic at Gateshead. The final lap was neck and neck between the two runners, with O'Meara persisting, beating Cram by 1/100th of a second. O'Meara also beat his Irish record by clocking a personal best of 8:17.78 for the 2-mile course. Eamon Coughlin has spoken for the first time about his Olympic hopes this year. Coughlin has spent most of this year recovering from a severe back injury. However, the Dublin man is back in training and for the moment is quietly concentrating on achieving a time of 13:33, which is the qualifying time for the 5,000 meters. Eamon Coughlin holds the indoor mile record, which is 2 seconds slower than Cram's outdoor record. He won the World 5,000 meter championship in 1983, but has never won an Olympic medal, finishing fourth in 76 and 80. In 1984, injury kept him from competing. At 35 years of age, this year's Olympics in Seoul are surely Coughlin's last chance for Olympic success. And now for the big game this week. Mayo and Roscommon played for the Connacht Championship Sunday. The Connacht final has traditionally proven to be an exciting, well-fought game. However, Sunday's game was disappointing on the whole. Both teams seemed to take a long time to warm up and get into the game. The first half was a dull 45 minutes, marked only by the overabundance of missed chances by both sides. Players from both Mayo and Roscommon found themselves facing open net goals at 3 points during the first half, but kicked the ball over the bar to boost their points total rather than shooting for goals. This overcautious play contrasted sharply with the very risky and rough tackling which prevailed throughout the game, resulting in far too many stoppages for a championship game. Mayo captain Dermot Flanagan must have had some sharp words with his team at halftime, as Mayo seemed to start the second half with improved determination, and we began to see the kind of football one would expect from a provincial. The renewed Mayo enthusiasm paid off in the 12th minute of the first half with a fine goal from Tom Riley. The move was initiated by Martin Carney, who kicked the ball well into the Roscommon goal area to the waiting Jimmy Burke. Burke made a hand pass to McHale, who in turn gave the ball to a perfectly positioned Tom Riley, and the only goal of the game was scored. From that moment on, Mayo dominated the match and Roscommon provided no further challenge. It is unfortunate that the scrappy and dangerous play, which ruined the first half, continued in the second 45 minutes. This rough football and traditional man-to-man marking made this a slow and tiring game to watch. The final score of Mayo 1 goal and 12 points to Roscommon's 8 points is a sad but accurate reflection of the day's play. Mayo will have to work harder and clean up their tactics before they meet the Leinster champions for the All-Ireland semi-final game at Croke Park. The Connacht final will was shown live here in Chicago at Gaelic Park and the Irish American Heritage Center. For further information on the games, call 282-7035. And that's the sports for this week. I'm Pat Looney.
Well, most band leaders are always up front in their group, but this time we have Mike O'Connell and the Shannon Ayers, and he's the drummer of the group, and of course usually sits in the back. But Siobahn, I believe we have a number coming up with the Shannon Ayers.
Right, you know, the funny thing about Mike is you don't lose him behind the drums in the slightest. He's very much at the forefront, although he's not singing. Well, the song we have now is called Four Roads to Glenamady, a song which was made famous by Big Tom at home. It's a song about a place in Galway, and there are actually 4 roads leading in there, you know. Some people say it's only 2, one going in and going out the other side again, and the same thing again, but who knows? Here's the song.
I left behind. One dusty road winding through the town of Glenamady. One dusty road smothered in the caverns of my mind. Four roads to Glenamady. Four roads that hit the pole. And the 4 dusty byways to my heart. Once in a while I hear the sound of music in the morning light. I see now and then the trees where we sheltered from the rain. And once in a while I strolled with my loved one in the moonlight. Then after the night, long to see my hometown once again. Four roads to Glenamady. Four roads that drift apart. Four roads to Glenamady. And the 4 dusty byways to my heart. Sound of music in the moonlight. I'd see now and then the trees where we sheltered from the rain. And once in a while I'd stroll with my loved one in the moonlight. After the night, long to see my hometown once again. Four roads to Glenamady.
Mike O'Connell coming up, of course, next week in interview with Tom O'Donnell. Martin Hayes, in case you're wondering, is on an artiste break. He's out of town right now, and that's why Tom is filling in for him, but filling in his shoes quite nicely. Now let's see what our feature people have lined up for us this week.
Good evening. This is Tom O'Donnell with our feature tonight. I'm with Sean Guahan, who is runs the Chorus Bhuachalla, which is the acronym CTT, which in long and short is the Irish Export Board. Now, Sean, maybe you could tell us, what does the Irish Export Board do?
Well, Tom, the Export Board is a government agency, and the function of the agency is to assist and develop exports of products made in Ireland to other countries.
Okay. And is this important to Ireland?
Yeah, exports are really critical to Ireland. As you know, Ireland is a relatively small country. The total population is about 3.5 million. So therefore, the home market only can buy a limited amount of products made in Ireland. And these companies have to look to overseas markets to sell their products.
What does the board do to help these companies?
Well, there's a variety of functions we perform. Mainly, I guess you could say, we're marketing consultants. And we do a lot of research for companies. For example, I just did some work for a company that makes an auto polish, and I researched the U.S. market for them, identify the competition, how the product is sold, what the price points are, things like that. And ultimately, that company came here and met with about 10 people that we had set up appointments with as potential distributors.
Now, you're in the Chicago office. How does that fit in with the rest of the organization, the CTT?
Well, the entire organization consists of 25 offices, all in overseas markets. In North America, there's a New York office, there's a Chicago office, and a Toronto office. New York is a major office, which I report to, and Toronto and Chicago are pretty much satellite offices. And as far as my function is, I'm responsible for any activities in the Midwest, which is a 12-state region.
A lot of travel.
Yeah, there's some travel involved, yeah.
Now, there's also, CTT has offices throughout the world.
Right. The major markets are North America, Europe, and the Far East. And there are offices in Beijing, and Sydney, and quite a few other places.
Now, Sean, what type of companies have you worked with?
Well, there's, I guess there's the traditional companies that a lot of people think about when they think about Ireland, and by that I mean giftware, apparel type people. But in addition, I've worked with a lot of industrial type companies. For example, there's a company, Graftel, which makes computer hardware, and some telecommunications companies, as well as chemical companies as well.
I understand there's a number of Irish companies participating in the Chicago Gift Show that's coming up. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, the Chicago Gift Show is held at McCormick Place, and it's July 31st through August 4th, and we have a group showing that's 18 companies, and they're, of course, primarily giftware companies. And the show draws about 20,000 buyers, so it offers a pretty tremendous potential for these people.
Is this the first time these companies will be participating in the show?
No, most of these companies have been here consistently for over the last 6 years. And as a matter of fact, there's 2 shows in Chicago. There's a winter show and a summer show. And there's also an Atlanta show, San Francisco show, and a show in New York.
What type of Irish companies will display at the show?
Well, there's a number of different companies. Again, we go to the giftware type people. There's Pecan Crafts, for example, make a handcrafted wooden items. And
now we're showing this is the handcraft items, the type of items that they'll make and show and display at the show.
Exactly, they're all designed and handcrafted in Ireland, and they do quite well here. There's also some jewelry companies, and a newer one for us is Shannon Lapidary, and they make a line that's pretty distinctive. It's designed after the Book of Kells, and I think we've got some pictures of them too.
Right, and that's a lapidary company.
Right, exactly. In addition to that, we've got crystal and glassware companies. There's also some apparel companies, and this year we've got 2 heraldic companies, which are companies that will trace if you're Irish, your ancestry, and they make coat of arms plaques and things of that nature.
Now, who will these companies be selling to?
Well, really the primary market are Irish specialty stores, and I think a lot of your audience knows where those stores are, and they do a major portion of their buying at the gift shows in the States. And if there are people that are interested in the location of those stores, they can call our offices and we'll provide those.
Why don't you give your number of your office?
Okay, we're at 350 North Orleans, and the phone number is 467-1891.
Okay, great. Now, who will these companies be selling to the Irish import stores, and what other companies will they be selling to?
Well, there's the Irish import stores, but then again, there's the mainstream giftware buyers, and you've got people like Marshall Fields and people like that who attend these shows. And some of the companies that we deal with sell into those stores and do quite well.
I guess the obvious question would be, can anyone come to this show, or is it a...
Well, Tom, I think we'll let you in. Actually, the show's not designed for the public. People that are interested in buying products, the best thing is to go to the Irish import stores, and they can find them there.
What does your office do for these companies at the show?
Our involvement in the show is really in pre-planning, and we'll do everything from making the hotel bookings. We'll reserve their space at the show. We'll order their furniture, get them all set up. Before the show, we'll also do promotion, where we do a large mailing to potential buyers. And then during the show, we have office facilities, and a lot of the companies will use the office facilities to make phone calls and conduct business from there.
Okay. Now, what about the weaker dollar? How is that going to affect these companies?
Well, the weaker dollar definitely has an effect on selling to the U.S. It makes it more difficult to sell here and make a profit. Fortunately, with these companies, they tend to be higher quality, more unique products, and therefore they're not as affected by the weak dollar.
What is the outlook for the Irish companies selling here?
In general, in the States, I think the outlook is good. Our exports to North America are up by a little over 8% so far in '88, and that's in the face of a weak dollar. In addition, our offices have expanded. We now have trade consultants who work for us in Boston, Atlanta, and San Francisco. And these people are there on a contract basis. So if we have a company that's, say, needs some research done in San Francisco, we can contract that out. So we've really expanded our horizons that way.
That's great. Now, Sean, you're not from Ireland. You're a Chicagoan, as a matter of fact.
That's right, Tom.
And what got you interested in working with CTT?
Well, my background was in marketing and sales, and I happened to see an ad that they had run advertising the job, and I went through their interview process, and I enjoyed the job. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully I've made some contributions to some of these people.
Well, that's great. Well, we really enjoyed having you on the show,
Thanks,
Sean.
Tom.
And we'll have you on again, and this gift show coming up, and I think everyone's going to really enjoy that. And again, get in touch with your local stores to find out what kind of Irish items you can buy, and some unusual ones.
Right.
This is Tom O'Donnell with Irish Television Chicago. Back to you.
Good evening. I'm Bridge Looney, and I'd like to share with you the upcoming events at the Irish American Heritage Center. Remember, the Irish American Heritage Centre is here to serve the community. Why not plan your next party at the Irish American Heritage Centre? There are several party rooms available and the prices are reasonable. For more information, call the centre daily between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. The phone number is 282-7035.
Well, one of the most popular acts we've had here on the show in the past, and also here at the Abbey Pub, is Pat Woods, a great singer, and he's done many numbers for us here in the past. We have Pat once again, and he's going to sing a number for us. It's called "When Are You Coming Home?"
The winds that blow across the sea from Ireland are laden with the salt of Irish foam. Sure, I never seem to hear that, but they whisper a story in bond. When are you coming home? And when they reach the smoke pall of our city, and down the narrow streets and alleys roam, sure to me it always seems a thousand pities that when they're lonely here they can come home. We do not blame the stranger for not knowing. They treasure us with standards of their own, but they never heard a wild bird on a blackthorn cry a story in bond. When are you coming home? The winds that blow across the sea from Ireland are laden with the salt of Irish foam. Sure, I never seem to hear that, but they whisper a story in bond. When are you coming home? Thank you. A story in bond. When are you coming home?
Well, once again, we're at the end of another show. I'd like to thank all you out there for listening to or watching us this evening, and we'd like to thank all of the performers, Siobahn in particular, all the ones we've on tonight.
Absolutely. I thought you were saying I was performing there for a while. Okay, it's gratitude time. Thanks to Pat Daly and the Ramblers, thanks to Pat Woods, thanks to the Shannoners, thanks to the Lookalikes, and thanks to the O'Shea family who are going to play us out tonight. And special thanks to Martin Hayes, who wasn't with us tonight, but we think he was probably with us in spirit anyway. And thanks to Tom for letting me sit in again tonight. This has been brought to you by Irish Television Chicago, Abbey Productions, and of course in part by the Irish American Heritage Centre. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.